Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Ever get the feeling that beneath the surface of those picture-perfect families, you know, there's this whole world of crazy secrets and drama just waiting to explode?
Totally. I think we all kind of suspect that sometimes the people we think we know best can have these hidden lives full of unexpected twists and turns.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. It's this whole mix of dark humor and suspense, where family ties get all tangled up in the most bizarre ways.
And where good intentions can sometimes lead to, well, some seriously questionable choices.
So basically, we're about to go deep into the world of The Usual Family Mayhem
Hmm.
by HelenKay. It's this really quirky novel that's like a total roller coaster of emotions.
Personally, a must read.
If you're intrigued by what you're hearing, you can find the link to buy the book on Amazon down in the description. And hey, while you're at it, a quick like and subscribe really helps us keep these deep dives coming your way. We're all about giving you the good stuff without making your head spin.
Absolutely. So let's get this deep dive started, shall we?
Let's do it. So our entry point into this whole crazy family situation is through Casey. Imagine you've just landed a job at this company called NOI,
Oh.
but to get the job, you might have, slightly embellished your qualifications,
Oh, we've all been there, right?
maybe just a tad. And the company brochures, they promise this amazing dynamic work environment, cutting-edge teams, even free bagels every day.
Sounds pretty tempting.
Right. But the reality is a bit of a letdown, to put it mildly, mostly because of this seriously annoying boss.
Oh, yeah, Brock Devers. A real piece of work from what I hear.
Seriously.
Hmm.
He's described like a total Yale blowhard, the type constantly sighing, talking over everyone, delivering these ridiculously long lectures.
Oh, I can practically hear him now.
It's enough to make anyone question their life choices, especially when you kind of sort of maybe lied to get there.
So this whole work pressure situation, it basically pushes Casey to head back home to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She's looking for a break from the chaos and also needs to deal with what's being called a business mess involving her grandmother, Magnolia Nottingham, who everyone calls Graham.
Graham sounds like a character.
Oh, she definitely is.
And also her sister-in-law, Celia Windsor. That makes you wonder, right? What kind of mess requires a whole family reunion to fix?
Right. It's definitely intriguing.
And then you get this amazing description of Graham's house. From the outside, it's this classic, stately, federal-style building, all proper and elegant.
Like something out of a magazine.
Totally. But then you step inside and bam, it's a whole different world. It's like an explosion of colors and patterns. Think floral wallpaper, comfy sofas, lace everywhere, little frilly touches.
It's like walking into Graham's personality.
Right. The author even specifically mentions not a lick of white paint anywhere.
That tells you everything you need to know.
And Graham herself, she's 75 years old, but she's got this energy that would put most 20-year-olds to shame. And her Thursday hairdresser appointment, it's like a sacred ritual. Nothing can mess with that.
Sounds like my kind of lady.
But there's definitely more to her than meets the eye, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Casey quickly picks up on the fact that Graham is super sharp and can read people like an open book. She can smell fear, which is kind of both impressive and a little intimidating, right?
Definitely. It's like she's got this sixth sense about people's intentions. And Casey definitely walks on eggshells around her. She's got this whole mental list of past incidents where she maybe didn't quite live up to Graham's expectations. Typical teenage stuff. The window incident, the garage door, that time she borrowed $20.
Oh, those little family stories that come back to haunt you.
Exactly. And then there's the way Graham invites Casey to come home.
Uh-huh.
It's very straightforward. Plenty of room and plenty of work.
That plenty of work part really stands out, doesn't it?
It's like a hint that this business mess is the real reason for Casey's return.
More than just a casual family visit.
And then we get to the heart of it. The baking business. Graham and Celia, they're both amazing bakers. But Casey's cooking skills, they're basically non-existent.
Oh.
I know. And the way they just dismiss her culinary abilities, it's brutal, but also kind of hilarious, especially when Graham lets out this double snort of laughter.
Okay, I need to hear this double snort.
And then there's Casey's reaction to trying one of Graham's scones. She literally says, "Sweet baby Jesus, what is in this thing?"
That's a serious endorsement.
Right. It makes you really curious about these secret family recipes and what kind of magic they hold.
Speaking of family, let's talk about HelenKay. He's basically the relative that everyone tries to avoid. He's condescending, self-absorbed, and his comments about his late wife and his super quick remarriage are just ooh.
Yeah, not a fan.
He immediately assumes that Casey's just going to stir up trouble and then leave. Like he's already decided who she is.
And his advice about Casey's potential business ideas for Graham and Celia, It's not helpful. It's just him trying to assert his dominance.
Classic know-it-all relative.
But amidst all this family drama, we also get these glimpses of their heartwarming routines. Like every morning, Graham is up before everyone else making tea and muffins. It's this sweet little tradition that shows how much she cares.
Even if Casey would rather sleep in.
Exactly. And then there's the ongoing saga of the iced sweet tea. Graham has this ancient plastic pitcher that she insists on using, and when Casey was younger, she totally rebelled against the sheer amount of sugar in it.
Oh, the teenage angst.
I know. But it's those little family quirks that make them so unique.
Absolutely. It's the small stuff that you remember.
And then there's Celia, always rocking her matching oversized top and pants lounge outfits in every color of the rainbow. Her justification, North Carolina is getting colder every year, no matter what the weatherman says.
Some things you just can't argue with.
But what Casey starts noticing is this weird, unspoken communication between Graham and Celia, like they're keeping secrets and don't want her to get involved.
Oh, that's never good.
And Casey, being Casey, she starts piecing things together. She notices the big house, but the shared job, the hesitation about kitchen renovations and her college fund, all these little clues that maybe their finances aren't as solid as they seem.
It's like a puzzle she's trying to solve.
Right. And she even starts questioning the inheritance from Graham's late husband. Like, where did that money really come from?
So many questions.
And Casey's hope that her connections from NOI could help her family. It becomes this driving force for her. It's not just curiosity. It's genuine concern.
It's about protecting the people she loves.
Exactly. And then things get really interesting. Casey finds this ledger in Graham's office. But it's not your typical boring financial document. This thing is a detailed record of every pie they've ever delivered.
Yeah, every single pie.
Seriously. And the variety is mind-blowing. We're talking coconut cream, buttermilk, pecan, strawberry, rhubarb, even crazy flavors like Patty's sawdust pie and grits pie.
Grits pie. Okay, I'm intrigued.
The sheer number and the unique flavors, it suggests that their business is actually booming, which contradicts the whole financial trouble thing, right?
Yeah. So where's all the money going?
That's the million-dollar question. And then it gets even weirder. Casey finds this hidden column in the ledger with a star next to certain entries. Just a tiny little star, but it screams suspicious.
Like a secret code?
Totally.
What could it mean?
It's special order. VIP customer. Or something way more sinister, right? Then during dinner, the news of Cash's death drops, and it's Jackson who casually mentions it. Like it's no big deal.
Oh, wow. Talk about burying the lead.
But it's Graham and Celia's reaction that really throws Casey off. Graham just puts down her fork, and Celia doesn't sound surprised at all.
Like they already knew.
Which leads to the connection with Abigail Burns. Her name's in the pie ledger right next to one of those mysterious stars, and when Casey mentions her name, Graham clams up and avoids eye contact.
Red flag alert.
Major red flag. And then Jackson chimes in saying that people are jumping to conclusions about Abigail.
Is he trying to cover something up?
It's possible.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how the author plays with perception here. Casey sees her own leaps of logic as creative license, while Graham uses words like embellishing and exaggerating. It makes you question who's really seeing things clearly.
And whether Casey's instincts are on point or if she's letting her imagination run wild.
Exactly. So Casey decides to share her concerns about Graham and Celia with Jackson. But his initial response is pure sarcasm.
Not taking her seriously.
Not at all. But you can sense that he starts to shift when he realizes how genuinely troubled she is.
That's when he drops the bombshell about the tennis club incident.
Oh, yeah. The fact that he secretly intervened to defend Casey after this whole confrontation with Cash and his dad and never even told her about it, it shows a whole different side of him.
It's like he's her silent protector.
And then he throws in this dry comment about his negotiation skills.
Classic Jackson.
So the plot thickens even further with the mention of Delilah Rhine and yet another star next to her name in the ledger.
Not another one.
And the timing of her pie delivery right before her husband's death. It's way too coincidental to ignore Casey's gut is telling her something is seriously wrong.
And we all know that when a woman's intuition kicks in, it's usually right.
But then we get this sweet little anecdote about the sweet tea. Celia has been pretending to like it for 20 years just to make Graham happy.
That is so sweet.
And in return, Graham shares her cherry pie with Celia, even though she hates cherries.
It's like this silent agreement of love and sacrifice.
It shows that beneath all the drama and secrets, there's this deep bond between them.
Family love can be complicated.
But this sweetness is contrasted with Casey's growing frustration. Graham and Celia are happy to give her unsolicited advice about everything, but refuse to be honest about what's really going on.
Like they're protecting her from something.
Or hiding something.
No.
So Casey tries to share her evidence about the poison with Jackson during dinner, but he's totally shut down and even makes a snarky comment about her lobbying.
He's not buying it.
Nope. And then she stumbles upon Celia's laptop, which is open and displaying more pages from the ledger.
With more stars.
Potentially. It's like the universe is pushing her to keep digging. And she's torn between her concern for her family and the fact that she's basically snooping.
It's a moral dilemma.
And of course, Jackson walks in right as she's looking at the laptop.
Talk about awkward timing.
And he's not fully dressed either, which just adds to the tension.
Oh, my.
He accuses her of snooping again, and they get into this whole disagreement about whether they had an agreement about who investigates what.
Trust issues bubbling to the surface.
Big time. And then Jackson finds out that Delilah's husband had a history of heart problems, which seems like a perfectly reasonable explanation for his death.
Case closed.
Right? But there's still this underlying tension between Casey and Jackson, fueled by her feelings for him, and the fact that she can't shake this feeling that something isn't right.
She just knows.
And then, boom, those stars in the ledger, they show up again. And Casey's back to freaking out.
The mystery deepens.
So a cupcake emergency sends Casey back into Graham's office. And the author gives us this vivid description of the room. It's all green walls, beadboard floral wallpaper, and this unique corner sofa.
It's like stepping back in time.
And it's in this room that Graham finally opens up about her abusive husband and her lack of sadness about his death.
Wow, that's heavy.
It's a huge revelation that helps us understand Graham's motivations and the lengths she's willing to go to protect herself and the people she loves. And we also learn that Celia was Graham's rock after her husband died, and that his shady business dealings left her financially ruined.
So they've both been through a lot.
They've got this shared trauma that binds them together.
And then we get to the raisin pie.
The raisin pie is the key to everything Casey discovers, that this specific recipe was shared with both Abigail Burns and Delilah Ryan, and that it was given to several other women all within a few months of their husbands dying. And she finds this term, online funeral pie,
Oh, no.
which can be made with or without custard. It's like all the pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking into place.
And it's not a pretty picture.
And then there's the turmeric incident. Casey almost throws up when she tastes the batter. And Graham is super quick to clean up any trace of it, like she's covering her cracks.
Suspicious much.
Totally. And then Harlan shows up again, trying to buy Mag's desserts.
Oh, no, not him again.
Graham and Celia refuse to sell despite his thinly veiled threats. It's like they're drawing a line in the sand.
Protecting their turf.
And in Harlan's report on their business, he mentions these special gift boxes and pie recipe cards, including the raisin pie, which they don't normally sell.
So the raisin pie is definitely special.
In a very bad way. So Casey confronts Graham and Celia directly. She lays out all her findings about the raisin pie and accuses them of poisoning Cash Burns. And they don't deny it.
The truth comes out.
Celia clarifies that poisoned is only part of it. Graham says it'd be way too obvious to just poison every abusive man.
So there's a bigger plan.
They've created this whole network of women who help each other escape abusive situations.
It's like a secret society.
But with pie?
And poison.
The funeral pie acts as a signal within the network. A way to communicate urgency without being too obvious.
Clever, but also terrifying.
Celia explains that they don't just jump straight to poison or the funeral pie. They first offer advice and support. They try to help women escape before resorting to more drastic measures.
So it's not about revenge.
It's about protection.
But Graham does say something that sends chills down your spine. Some men deserve a horrible end.
It's like a glimpse into the darkness they've had to face.
And the lengths they're willing to go to prevent others from suffering the same fate.
And then comes the final reveal. They provide a how-to guide and the necessary supplies as a last resort.
Wow, that's intense.
It makes you think about the limits of justice and what happens when the system fails to protect the vulnerable.
It's a moral gray area for sure.
Then Abigail Burns shows up and tells them that the police have no leads in Cash's case.
So they're in the clear.
For now.
Yeah.
But Casey still has questions about her session with Abigail and their seemingly airtight alibis. Graham insists that they only offer advice and a listening ear.
But we know there's more to the story.
Casey decides to quit her job and move back to Winston-Salem. It's a huge decision, but she feels this pull to be closer to her family and maybe try to understand the choices they've made.
It's like she's accepting the good with the bad.
And she finally has that long-awaited conversation with Jackson. He's been avoiding her, but she tells him that she loves him. And he admits that he thought she was just bored or curious about the whole pie thing.
Miscommunication at its finest.
They finally clear the air, and it's this beautiful moment of connection amidst all the chaos.
So they get their happy ending.
Kind of.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, Casey's living back in Winston-Salem under Graham's strict no-cooking rule.
Some things never change.
And then we get this darkly comedic scene where they're all wearing hazmat suits to remove the foxglove from the shed. Graham and Celia downplay its poisonous nature, claiming it just causes skin irritation and headaches.
Oh, sure. Just a mild inconvenience.
Right. But we know the truth.
It's like a final wink from the author.
Despite the poisonous secrets. The mayhem, Casey's last thought is, poison or not, it was good to be home.
It's a testament to the power of family, even when they're a little bit crazy.
So in this deep dive into the usual family mayhem, we went from what seemed like a simple business problem to this whole underground network of women taking justice into their own hands.
It's a story that makes you question your assumptions about family and the lengths people will go to protect the ones they love.
We had so many aha moments trying to decipher the clues and figure out who was doing what and why.
It's a real page-turner.
This story really makes you think about what you would do in a similar situation. What are the boundaries of morality when it comes to protecting the vulnerable?
It's a question with no easy answers.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this deep dive. What were your interpretations of the book? What shocked you the most? Share your insights in the comments below.
We love hearing from you guys.
Thanks for joining us for this exploration of the unusual world of the usual family mayhem. We hope you found it thought-provoking.
Until next time, happy reading.
Bye, everyone.